child is a child, and the trauma that they're going through is at the same scale. You can't measure who is going to be affected more or less. Thanks, mate. How are you?
I'm all good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah. Much
Okay,
better.
first of all, let's look at the importance of social media, yeah? I'm sure like there's no surprise that social media is now the core of our daily life, right? Whether it's entertainment, way of getting news, or now a lot of people are actually not just using it and also relying on the financial impact of social media, like the amount of revenue it generates for a normal person. I feel like it is a core part of our social life. I feel the dynamics of our society in the last decade have shifted so quickly, especially after COVID. And I think this is something that we were discussing last time as well. Like since COVID, the dynamics of our whole society has changed. The way we are doing business, the way we are communicating with each other, every single thing has changed so much. And it's not just I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Every single thing that I personally feel like whenever it comes to technology, most of it is created to benefit the society itself. But every single thing has its limitations, and it all bottles down to how you implement it, how you use it, or abuse it. What do you think?
No, definitely. I think that, like, obviously, social media. Uh, there was. I remember when I was in business school, back in 2015. There was one of the Facebook creators, actually came, and they said that if you spend longer than they just one of the co-creators of Facebook came, and now they just have non-for-profits helping people get off social media. So this is it's statistically proven. If you spend longer than 10 minutes on a social media platform, you're like 95% likely to come off more depressed than what you were before you went on it.
Wow.
And I think that's part of that. And so, like, if your psyche changes that much whilst you're on the app, it's obviously it's problematic. It's been problematic for society, so especially in the Western world, especially for like men's mental health and things like that. It's such a massive hit. But also the nefarious things which take place on social media. I mean, Zuckerberg is in trials left, right, and centre because Facebook has just been like basically aiding and abetting human trafficking,
Yeah.
and so it's um it's still the wild, wild west.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to see the hearing? Not just of Facebook, but all the social media platform. I think X was there, TikTok was there, and a few other, right? Did
No,
did you get to see it?
I didn't watch into it. I think each one of those social media platforms has got its own challenges. I mean,
Yeah.
Musk, now that he took over X, like he's shone the light on how much obviously the old Twitter was being influenced by CIA and so forth. And then obviously Facebook is Facebook, isn't it, with all its issues, and then TikTok is obviously modern day. TikTok is just saying modern day warfare weapon. Like the Chinese. Like it's the Chinese, like they have the old proverb: if you cannot defeat your enemy, turn your enemy within itself. And that's TikTok is a fantastic weapon. What they've been using on the Western culture, especially in America.
D- Do you see the difference in the culture, like between China and US? Have you been to China before?
No, I've not been to China. I've studied it. I've studied a lot of the geopolitics that's going on there, but also kind of their like agenda with the Silk
Mhm.
Road. And obviously spending a lot of time in Africa. You see where it's kind of like the colonization through economics.
Mhm.
What they're trying to do. But with the US is the major superpower, isn't it? But the superpower is unfortunately declining. And so, in order for a superpower to fall, there has to be one to take its place. And so, but China's extremely patient with everything. Like, they'll wait another 100 years, you know? Whereas, like, they just like, bro, let's wait another 100 years and ultimately we'll become the superpower. Whereas America, it's like, he's still that adolescence. Like, it's not been a superpower for long. It's only after the Second World War, obviously, where it became, like, the major superpower.
Let's connect this topic to one of the concerns that I actually have. I'm not going to talk about geopolitics because I feel like there's so many layers to that
Yeah.
specific area, and a lot of it. I'm not sure about you, but I cannot comment on it because I feel like a lot of it becomes biased, as well as misinformation. So whatever information that I'm getting, I feel like maybe I will be biased towards it because of my own geography and my own connection with US or China or whatever, like geopolitical situation. And at the same time, my own personal views are dependent on the information that I have received, based on where I worked before. Like I was working in news platforms. So I've been a journalist myself, and I feel like most of journalists are somewhat biased regardless of where you stand. Y- You can't not be biased if you're working in media
Mm,
because the information that you are receiving is of course biased,
yeah.
and it's not a bad thing because of course like whatever information you're getting is an interpretation of someone. You are unless you're getting the information from the source itself, it is definitely biased. That's what
Mm,
I believe. So I don't want to touch geopolitical situation at the moment. What I want to connect is the actual issue that I want to raise, and that is something I feel like you've been working on as well, like how you mentioned, is child abduction. That is something that I'm very curious about because I feel like these both topics go hand in hand, or at least have a relationship. Because before social media was when it was not so much conveniently available for underage children. And I'm not just gonna talk about TikTok. I feel like all of the social media platforms, they all follow the same regulations, and the regulations which are created by the government itself. And I feel like all of them follow the same structure. And now it is becoming much more convenient for kids to access social platforms. And not just access social platforms, it is becoming much more difficult to for parents especially to keep track on their kids or to evaluate what they are watching. And I feel like that has a lot to do with the kind of regulations that we have built in our societies. Like for example, in a lot of Western culture, we are trying to give children a lot of what should I say, like their rights, but in return, it is actually restricting parents to actually um, keep an eye on their children, I would say. And at the same time, there are a lot of things that bottles down to this. What do you think about this whole situation?
yeah, I mean, it's so scary. It's so scary. I mean, touching on the child abductions, which has
And
been
even
going on.
abuse.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like most of the time, statistically, it's whether you're receiving children being trafficked, or even adults being trafficked, generally they know that the person that is doing this to them through one thing or another, whether it be like an obscure family member or they've known this person intimately or so forth. But when it comes to the abductions, I'm sure that people have been seeing all over the news about the mass immigration to the
Mhm.
United States because the border's just like wide open right now. So it's absolutely insane what's happening. But what a lot of people are taking into consideration is that it's going the other way as well. And you ask yourself, okay, this I think it's projection is absolutely insane in regards to how many million people have been coming through the border. But there's been absolutely no focus on the other way. And the other way is literally children which have been abducted in the United States cities and they're going through the border. And it's going through the other way, so they're coming out of the United States into Mexico. And this is something which I have got no idea why. And obviously, conspiracy theories, you can go to town on this one. Why it's not more national news? I don't understand. But also now with the act of social media, unfortunately, when you abduct a child prior to all this technology and being able to get connected, be able to get access to content and so forth, a child like would kind of be sold and then that would be that. But
Mm.
now because of the platforms which kind of aid and abet things like obviously child porn, whatever it is, and then the people that obviously have abducted these children, there is lots of recurring monetization that can be done. So it's scary, it's so sad, and these platforms are kind of like aiding and abetting, like this like nefarious like human trafficking is. I think it's over to arms, illegal arms in regards to illicit trade. It's like it's touching over $1 trillion business now yearly. Like it's absolutely crazy, and a lot of that now is obviously instead of actually getting the child, it's the content what that child can create for these like illicit markets and so forth. So the major concern is the the border crisis. It's an angle what people are looking at. It's going the other way in regards to just coming in.
My major concern is how do you control it? Because I feel like a lot of times, um, when you ask the platform management or the ownership, they say that they cannot reveal the data because it is protected by the government. So the government has already created regulations which doesn't allow the platforms to track somebody or reveal their data. So in case something happens, what can they do? You get what I mean? And
It's
because it is
yeah,
protected and there are a lot of layers to protection, it is very difficult to evaluate when something is happening as well. Like, for example, there have been a lot of platforms, especially, I believe there was a case in Korea and there was a case in Taiwan that I was reading about, where there's been a guy called, I think, the masked man or something like that, and he would abduct kids or he would blackmail kids, and then they will do like child pornography and whatnot. And that group was unable to be um, like caught because every single thing is controlled. Like uh, there's so much restriction on the platform that you cannot trace it, and
really
all the videos were circulated through Telegram. It was like a closed circuit, and because it's a closed circuit, you can't track it, and you don't have permission to evaluate the information. You don't have any layers of tracking if somebody is doing something wrong. So
it's a hard it's a very difficult one because you don't want to
yeah,
infringe on people's rights. Because like there should be some you should have some like privacy online. You shouldn't be tracked everything what you do, X, Y, Z. But like it all boils down to the foundations and the business. Because when social media was being created, nobody envisaged how big it was going to be.
yeah,
And now you've got these big absolute ships which are social media companies, and they are moving, and they need to keep moving to keep monetizing. They cannot
Yeah.
stop what they're doing, go back to the foundations and be like, okay, we need to fix that and this and the other, because it will cripple them. It'll cripple them
Yeah.
financially. So they're already moving in a way which, at the foundation level, they didn't figure out these issues. So now, being able to fix the ship while it's moving, fix the rocket whilst it's in the air, is never a good thing. So it's going to be interesting. I think that there's definitely going to be an opportunity for a new social media, whether that be X, whether Elon Musk can. If anybody can fix it while it's moving, it's for Elon Musk. But there's going to be a massive opportunity because
Yeah.
it's going to be a platform which is built on the foundations of efficacy, transparency, protecting users' data, but at the same time making it safer. And
Hmm.
that's gonna be the big thing, because if there is gonna be a platform which parents know that it can be safe for their children, as safe as safe can be,
Yeah.
um, that's going to be a game change for, unfortunately, Instagram, Facebook. I mean, that's obviously things like Snapchat, things like others. They're rotten at the core. So
Yeah.
if they're rotten at the core, then it's like you can make it pretty on the outside as you want. You take a bite into it, it's still gonna be rotten, you know. So that's one angle to look at it, and it's a sad one, but unfortunately, the one days that we get, it turns out to be true. And it's like, okay, TikTok come out, okay, great, TikTok, everybody's downloaded this app, boom, China take
Hmm.
up all the data, you know.
No.
And it's like what how they infiltrate what people see. It's a lot of divide and hunger, there's a lot of confusion, and that has coincided with the mental health crisis.
You
So
know,
really hard, it's a lot on the core.
yeah, and one of the funniest thing that I find is that nobody has questions OnlyFans yet.
Right.
They're after TikTok, they're after Facebook, they're after everybody but OnlyFans. Why? I feel like there have been
Yeah.
so many cases that have been filed against people who have abused OnlyFans, but there have been no cases against OnlyFans, the platform
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah, I'm not well versed on the platform, but it's obviously it's one of those. It's kind of what like Snapchat become, like it's like anybody now that's above Snapchat, you just kind of like, alright, it's a bit weird, a little bit like
Yeah.
in regards to like, so OnlyFans is kind of like, like it's like Snapchat on steroids, but it is, and but all of them, they, like I said, they're rotten to the core and been just open to being exploitation, and so.
Yeah.
It's it's really hard because like the market for it is growing and growing and growing. Then like if you go back to like obviously um 20, 30, 40 years, there probably wasn't such a big illicit market for things like child pornography and things like that. Because it was like probably underground stuff, it was like
Mhm.
things don't people don't get exposed to it. Now, people can get exposed to it without even looking for it.
Yeah.
And it's like the human body, it's like what you feed yourself is just like what you eat all the time, like what you eat, what you feed your body, you need to eat good food to look after your body. It's just the same with your brain.
Yeah.
What you feed your brain, it's like that becomes the reality. So if somebody got exposed to something like that, and then it stays in them, and they're feeding themselves that, it's like they need that to there's a lot of psychology behind it, and so the fact that people just get exposed to it, and that's one of the huge problems when it comes to TikTok, is that there's been a huge thing in the United States where it's like you can be any gender that you want and things like that. And so a lot of that has been told to the kids when, say, for example, they had a bad day at school, everybody had a bad day at school, and it's like, it's not, it's, the idea is, okay, deal with it, be resilient, come back stronger. Now it's like, you might be in the wrong body. And it's just an easy cop out for the kids, you
Yeah.
know? It's like, it's not my fault, I'm just born in the wrong body, you know? And it's, and that's what, like, TikTok has done infiltrated from the other side of the coin. So you've got the coin obviously with the illicit trades of like the child trafficking child content online, but then on the flip side, it's also brainwashing the youth. And that's the scary part.
Yeah. And another scary part is that, like, there's such a fine line between uh, underage or legal now. With all the filters and all that, online, you don't know who is underage and who is not. And it has made things much more difficult for a normal person like you and me to report anything. So if something is happening and I know like this is an abuse going on, but I don't know, I don't know whether it is real or not.
So no, it's so scary. Like for example, somebody took some of my photos and created Instagram, and I don't have social media, and so I was alerted that my photos are being used, etc., etc. Instagram weren't doing anything. Dude, literally, I had to email. I've emailed them so many times and did nothing. I called the police. I was just like, and the police don't want to hear it. And so there is no protocols in place. Because, and a lot of that comes down to the companies. Like I said, they're rotten at the core, but there's no return on investment.
Mhm.
You know, you put all these safeguardings in place. Companies look at the bottom line saying, "Well, we put all these safeguardings in place, but there's no actual return on investment." We build a team of 50 people, 100 people that deals with safeguarding on Instagram. It's like 100 salaries where there's no actual return on investment. So that's
Mm.
where they're looking at it as well. So to make it safer for them, there's no return on investment. So unfortunately, it boils down to money. And a lot of these social media companies, like obviously, it's been well documented that Twitter was like losing money for so long. Like
Yeah.
an actual giant of a platform like that, for retail well, being losing money. And so, how can they stop all their operations when they're already losing money and going to a direction where they're going to lose even more money? But so, we're really like a really weird time right now where it is like the wild, wild west. And unfortunately, like people have been more and more brainwashed in extremist things, in unethical things, in just dark things, or just like many general mental health issues. And it's just, and this is a modern day warfare, you know?
Yeah. I feel like we have gone too far to have a reset. And the
Oh.
amount of dependency that the governments and individuals have uh, in terms of financial aspect on social media is so strong that it is close to impossible to have a reset on this. And like how you mentioned that, like previously social media was not like this, and now suddenly it's like that, right? And I feel like all of this happened because of monetization. If social media was not monetized, if every single person who was on TikTok was not making money out of it, this won't explode like this.
No, it's just like light and darkness in the world.
Yeah.
Darkness spreads a lot quicker than light, you know, when it's in places like that. And it's just like you said, it goes down to to the core. There is so much good that social media brings. I truly believe that there's more good people than bad people uh, in the world, but there's no
Really?
such thing as some. Yeah, 100% there's more good people than bad people. That's been my experience anyway. But online is I saw a stat the other day, example, that there is 50% of American men, or close to 50%, are obese. I don't see any obese people out. when I'm out, I'm only living in Florida. When I'm going out, I don't see any obese men out. So they're not leaving the houses. So these
Probably
people are
that's why you're
actually
not.
they're
Probably
living
that's why you don't
online.
see them because
Exactly.
they're not
That's what I'm
leaving the
saying.
house.
Exactly. So they're not leaving the house. So
Yeah,
these people are living online, and that is not a normal life. We are not made to live online. And so
yeah,
if you're living a life which is not natural to a human being, it's not going to get better and better and better, is it?
yeah,
So that's it. That's that. It really hit home because now people living at home, they can get everything delivered to them. Amazon, they can get all the food delivered to them. You don't actually need to leave their home. And so now when they're living online, things will only get dark. It takes a special person to be able to constantly live indoors and like be a positive light on the world online, you know? So yeah.
yeah. Yeah, sorry. I mean, your video froze for a second, so I thought that maybe. Yeah. Anyhow, yeah, you're right. Uh, but this begs the question: what is the future for us? I feel like this is one of the most important discussions that our politicians and like economists should be thinking how to create a balance, and not just create a balance, how to give power to the right people. When I say right people, I mean like people who have a stake in the betterment of the society, as in like our parents, our guardians, and people like that. And even people who are the authorities, like authorities cannot make a lot of decisions because of the restrictions on them. So how can they do that?
Well, yeah, it's life's never been fair. You know,
Yeah,
it's never been fair. One thing which brings me a lot of hope for the future is that although online has created so many of these nefarious things and it brings so much bad, it's bringing a lot of good because it's bringing the world together. People are uniting in ways where they're from different backgrounds, different countries, they're meeting online. Everybody seems to have similar problems everyday life. We're a lot more similar to what we're a lot more alike than what we are brought to believe that we are. And I think that the future is that when more and more people start to have access to connectivity, I think that light always beats darkness, and I'm I have a lot of hope in Africa as well because Africa is a continent which is left untouched, and Africa has got a lot of faith. There is a lot of light in Africa. Maybe it all started in Africa, maybe it all ends in Africa, you know. I think that once there is mass connectivity throughout everybody on Earth, I think that we will start to see um, the true potential of what the human race can do. Right now, we've just got a few corporations which are running everything, and that is never good, you know. So it needs to be we need to like we're all connected. We need to just come together as one. And I think the more different cultures, the more different perspectives, the more different wisdom which is brought to the table, it only improves us. So I believe that once even now, like like we've become more connected globally. I think that that is growing and growing and growing. So that's where my hope is.
your organization at the moment has been doing a similar sort of work in terms of overlooking and how should I say, like observing the situations and triggering, right? When it comes to, can you share a little bit like what how does this actually work, like the whole thing? from top to bottom, as in like getting permissions and whatnot, and what kind of permissions do you need to take for it to actually work properly, and what are the limitations for it?
Yeah, so the less organizations is called the International Missing Children Coalition. So basically, we work with cities and even countries where we can connect to those existing surveillance cameras. So cities and countries can give us access to the cameras, give us a stream. So we will take a stream from those cameras, and then now we work with missing children organizations. So now we can have databases which are constantly updated of the missing children, missing people, human trafficking victims, etc. So now we equip all the cameras with AI to be looking for those people on the databases. So now when a child goes missing, obviously the first 72 hours are key. If the child is not found within that first 72 hours, the resources diminish like incredibly, and the chance of finding that child's percentages drop dramatically as well. So now being able to equip every camera in the city to be able to be looking for these children is revolutionary. So you start with the databases of the missing children. You equip the cameras with the databases, and then now, whenever the AI has a match, it triggers an alert to a response team. And a response team will also work with super recognizers where they analyze the image from the surveillance camera and the image of the photo of the child to then clarify if the AI's made a mistake or if the AI got this right. And then the response team is then able to work with either local law enforcement. They can contact the parents of the child, whoever. So this is kind of the future. This is an unbelievable tool to have cameras constantly looking for these missing people. The limitations, of course, are the cameras aren't everywhere, and we don't want cameras everywhere. But in public scenarios, in transportation hubs, etc., this is a way where AI can really benefit society. And I think that all societies and communities appreciate this kind of technology because it helps communities, but it also gets to reunite families. And this is bringing AI for good. Because we're talking about social media, we're talking about all the negatives. There is some positives, and when you're introducing new technologies, it's always balancing out the negatives or positives. We're in this place now where we are starting with this kind of technology. We mentioned social media is rotten at the core. With AI surveillance, we use this as the core.
Yeah.
Finding missing kids, finding missing people. That's it. You don't want to start finding like non-shoplifters, and things like that, which they're trying to do right now. And I don't agree with it. You use this as a foundation. You've got the communities on the side, you've got society on the side. It's being used now. The foundation to use it for good, you know. But people just think AI, facial recognition, finding terrorists and so forth. I don't like that word terrorist. Like these days, if you put news out, you could be labeled a terrorist. So it's like, no, let's use this. What 99.9% of people would agree with to use as a foundation. That's finding missing children and this epidemic of kids going missing.
Yeah. I feel like all of this situation is more external, as in like societal, outside of the house kind of thing, right? There is one idea that I was thinking while you were sharing your side. It is that, like legally, people who have committed certain kind of crimes, they are obliged to actually go to their neighborhood and tell their neighbors that uh, they have been through this stuff. So, I mean, just to be aware that, like I have been convicted of this thing. Like for example, like if somebody has done, I believe, who's a child rapist or something like that, they are supposed to notify their neighbors so that neighbors are cautious, and at the same time they are comfortable knowing that, like, okay, this is the situation and how they need to tackle this situation, right? So what I was thinking is that, like, maybe legally it should be authorized to the government to, like, monitor their that kind of specific uh, personalities as well, not just like telling the neighbors, but for a certain period of time at least, because those people have shown tendency of doing certain things. So as perhaps maybe as long as they are going through certain psych evaluation, maybe, so create like a certain conditions that for this much period of time they are going to be monitored, as in like all of their activities, not just going outside or inside, but even like the phone that they're using or things like this, surveillance and whatnot, just to keep the neighborhood safe. I'm just thinking outside the box.
Yeah, so like it's something that is also claimed as well, because we talked about finding missing children and so forth. The other flip side of this, to use as a starting point, is non-compliant sex offenders. So what you're talking
Mm.
about there, where people have to check in and so forth, is known convicted sex offenders.
Yeah.
So known convicted sex offenders have to check in, like let's say, I don't know if anyone to know the local police department to ensure that, yes, I still live here, yes, for a period of time. So, what the other database would be to protect communities is non-compliant sex offenders.
Hmm.
These are sex offenders which are being convicted, and then they haven't checked back in, basically gone rogue.
Yeah.
Generally, these people should be found. You know, like, it's not they, like, like it's okay. Like, it's not just put in a blanket and saying all sex offenders should be on this
Mm.
list. Absolutely not. No. But sex offenders that become rogue, known, convicted sex offenders that haven't checked back in,
Hmm.
there is really no, their rights kind of go out of the window a little bit in regards to, like, oh, I shouldn't be on this list. It's like, no, you should check in every month. You haven't checked in for 3 months, and you were meant to be living in Delaware, and now we found you in South Carolina. You know,
Yeah.
like, it's
Sweet home.
generally, if they, yeah, generally, if they go road, it's like, okay, like, I think we owe society and we owe communities the right to be to find these people if they ever enter their community. So that should be one of the foundations as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Daniel. Before we end, can you share a few of the, like, maybe resources where people can actually find some information regarding child abduction, child abuse, and do you know any like organizations on top of your head who are actually working on providing information and even security to the people who are either affected by it or they feel like maybe they are being abused?
There's so many organizations. So obviously there's the International Missing Children Coalition, which I mentioned. You can go on their website, which is imcc.tech. So imcc.tech. And then within that organization, there is organizations such as Zero Trafficking, which help locate illicit, like massage parlors, people that could possibly be human trafficked. They're able to use data and financial records and so forth. There is ZFIS intelligence, which is run by Olivia and Ralph. They do fantastic work in terms of investigation. They help with court cases of abuse and so forth, but being able to actually dig and find information on these kind of, sometimes everything ranging from cults to, like, just like one-off like predators and so forth. And then there's people like the anti-human trafficking intelligence agency, which is a great resource to have a look at. But all the information can be found at imcc.tech. So have a look on there. Familiarize yourself. There's lots of great organizations, lots of champions to try and tackle this kind of like. We don't even know if it's a growing issue. We just we don't. It might just be the fact that we're actually just shining a light on it now and realizing how bad it actually is. You know.
Yeah. I feel like even if one child is suffering, it's like the whole society is suffering, regardless of how
What
small or big.
exactly. Like, and when it comes to resources, like, how much is a child's life? You know.
Yeah.
Like, say it costs like 2 million to equip your sitter. Like, if it saves one child, this money well spent.
Yeah. And obviously, I also feel like when a child is disturbed in his childhood, you never know, maybe this child, because of this trauma or this experience, turn out to be uh, one of the person who is going to affect the whole society in return, because that is something that he has experienced and he feels like this is okay,
Mm-hmm.
so. And a lot of people don't shed a light on it. Like, a lot of people think that only like, if a child woman is abused, that's a bigger issue. But I feel like even men sometimes, like, a lot of kids who are male kids, when they are abused, they are kept under a lid because they are men. Like, I feel like
Yeah,
there shouldn't be a distinction. It's like, a child is a child, and the trauma that they're going through is at the same scale. You
yeah.
can't measure who is going to be affected more or less. So that's what I feel.
No,
But
it's a right point because it's like it's a domino effect, isn't it? So we just have to try and put parameters in place to kind of stop the dominoes in its track. And again, there's going to be there's lots of organisations which are coming up. ZFIS are actually the vision is to build like not a rehabilitation centre, but kind of like a safe haven where these kids which have been found will have this area so they can give them the life skills and give them to stop that domino effect kind of thing. So, yeah, there's some fantastic organizations out there.
yeah. Thank you so much, Daniel. I really appreciate it, and it was a very interesting conversation. I feel like this is something that we should be shedding a light on, and hopefully I'll be inviting you again for the next topic. Thank you so much,
Cool.
man.
All right, always a pleasure, mate. All
Yeah,
right, bye bye.
appreciate it.